Exposing the politics in the Gaza peace plan. Behind the headlines, is this a step toward peace, or a move straight out of the political playbook? Today we're diving deep into the details, the drama, and the doubts swirling around the latest proposal from Washington and Jerusalem. Is this a genuine attempt to end one of the world's most entrenched conflicts, or just another headline-grabbing maneuver designed to score political points at home and abroad? Let's break it all down. We'll look at the promises, the pitfalls, and the political calculations that could make or break this deal. Whether you're a skeptic or a hopeful observer, this is a story that demands a closer look, because what happens next could reshape the Middle East for years to come. Here's what you need to know. All right, here's the scoop. The U.S. Israel Gaza peace plan has been unveiled with much fanfare, but also with a fair share of skepticism. The world is watching closely, and the stakes couldn't be higher, not just for Israelis and Palestinians, but for the entire Middle East and the global community. The plan is being pitched as a bold new roadmap, but as always, the devil is in the details. Every word, every clause, every promise is being scrutinized by analysts, politicians, and ordinary people alike. The announcement has triggered a wave of commentary, with some calling it a historic opportunity, and others warning that it's just another mirage in a desert of broken promises. The new U.S. Israel plan promises a ceasefire, a big prisoner swap, and a flood of humanitarian aid for Gaza, plus an international board of peace led by some big names. The ceasefire is supposed to be immediate and comprehensive, halting months of devastating violence that have left thousands dead and entire neighborhoods in ruins. The prisoner swap is being touted as a humanitarian gesture, with hundreds of Palestinian detainees to be released in exchange for Israeli hostages held by Hamas. And the humanitarian aid? We're talking about a massive influx of food, medicine, and rebuilding materials, all overseen by a coalition of international agencies and regional partners. The plan's architects say, this is the only way to break the cycle of violence and suffering, and to give both sides a reason to come to the table. The hope is that by addressing urgent humanitarian needs and building trust through concrete actions, the groundwork can be laid for a more lasting peace. But what really sets this plan apart is the proposed International Board of Peace, a governing body made up of diplomats, technocrats, and humanitarian experts from around the world. The idea is to bring in neutral parties to oversee the transition, manage aid distribution, and lay the groundwork for long-term stability. It's ambitious, and it's never been tried on this scale in Gaza before. The board would have sweeping authority to coordinate reconstruction, mediate disputes, and ensure that aid actually reaches those who need it most. Supporters say this could be a game-changer, breaking the deadlock that has paralyzed previous peace efforts. Critics, however, worry that too many cooks in the kitchen could lead to confusion, turf wars, and a lack of accountability. Hamas has kind of agreed. They'll talk hostages and let a neutral team run Gaza, but they're refusing to disarm or disappear. This is a major sticking point. Hamas says it's willing to negotiate on the release of hostages and even allow an international team to temporarily administer Gaza, but they draw the line at disarmament. For them, giving up their weapons means giving up their leverage, and they're not ready to do that. At the same time, they're under immense pressure from Gaza's civilian population, who are desperate for relief after months of siege and bombardment. The leadership is trying to walk a fine line, showing enough flexibility to keep the door open for negotiations, but not so much that they lose credibility with their own supporters or risk being sidelined by more radical factions. Israel's government? Split. The Israeli cabinet is deeply divided over the plan, with some ministers seeing it as a necessary step toward peace, while others view it as a dangerous concession to terrorism. The debate is fierce, with passionate arguments on both sides. Some officials argue that the only way to ensure Israel's long-term security is to make a deal now, while others insist that any compromise with Hamas is a recipe for disaster. The divisions are not just political, they run deep into Israeli society, reflecting years of trauma, mistrust, and fear. The Prime Minister says maybe, but his far-right partners are threatening to bail if Hamas isn't crushed. The far-right factions in the government have made it clear, any deal that leaves Hamas intact is a non-starter for them. They're demanding a total military victory, and anything less is seen as a betrayal of Israel's security. This internal rift has paralyzed decision-making and left the Prime Minister walking a political tightrope. He's trying to balance the demands of his coalition partners, the expectations of the international community, and the growing frustration of the Israeli public. Every move is being watched, every word dissected, and the pressure is mounting by the day. Meanwhile, Tel Aviv saw huge protests demanding the deal, and international leaders are cautiously optimistic. Tens of thousands of Israelis have taken to the streets, calling for an end to the war and the safe return of hostages. The public is exhausted by the conflict, and many see the peace plan as the only way out of a seemingly endless cycle of violence. Around the world, leaders from the UN, the EU, and neighboring Arab states have welcomed the proposal, but they're also wary. Past peace efforts have collapsed before, and trust is in short supply. The international community is eager for progress, but no one is under any illusions about how hard it will be to turn this plan into reality. The mood is a mix of hope, anxiety, and hard-earned skepticism. But not everyone is convinced. Headlines and commentators are already asking, is this plan for real, or just another diplomatic mirage? The skepticism is palpable, both on the streets and in the halls of power. Many remember previous peace initiatives that started with high hopes and ended in disappointment, and they're not ready to believe the hype just yet. The question on everyone's mind: what's different this time? And why should anyone trust that this plan will succeed where so many others have failed? So, why all the suspicion? Why are so many people, on all sides, questioning the motives behind this peace plan? Is it because of the timing, the players involved, or the history of broken promises? Or is it simply that after so many years of conflict, hope itself has become a rare and fragile thing? Critics say it's about timing. With U.S. elections and Israeli politics both on shaky ground, some think this plan is meant to shift headlines, not solve problems. In the U.S., the administration is facing mounting pressure over its handling of the Middle East, and with elections looming, a diplomatic breakthrough could be a game changer. In Israel, the Prime Minister is fighting for his political survival, and a peace deal, no matter how fragile, could shore up his support, or at least buy him some time. Political analysts point out that both leaders have a lot to gain from even the appearance of progress, and that the incentives for a quick win are stronger than ever. The question is whether those incentives align with the interests of the people on the ground, or whether they're just another example of politicians putting their own survival ahead of real solutions. The timing is almost too perfect, say the critics. They argue that both leaders are using the peace plan as a distraction from domestic scandals, economic woes, and growing public discontent. Some even suggest that the plan is designed to fail, so that blame can be shifted to the other side when talks inevitably break down. The media is full of speculation, with pundits dissecting every move and social media buzzing with conspiracy theories. For many, the whole thing feels like a carefully choreographed performance, designed to create the illusion of progress without actually changing anything on the ground. Plus, key issues like Palestinian statehood and real control in Gaza are left hanging. The plan talks about a temporary international administration, but what happens after that? Will Palestinians ever get a state of their own? Or is this just another stopgap measure? And who will actually govern Gaza when the dust settles? Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, or someone else entirely? These are the questions that keep coming up in every discussion, and so far, there are no clear answers. The lack of a long-term vision is a major source of concern for many observers, who worry that the plan could end up perpetuating the status quo rather than breaking new ground. Supporters call it a diplomatic breakthrough and the best shot at ending Gaza's nightmare. They point to the immediate benefits: a halt to the fighting, the release of hostages, and desperately needed aid for civilians. For many, even a flawed peace is better than endless war. They argue that this plan, for all its imperfections, is a rare opportunity to change the trajectory of the conflict and give ordinary people a chance to rebuild their lives. The images of families reuniting, children returning to school, and aid finally reaching those in need are powerful reminders of what's at stake. For these supporters, the alternative, more violence, more suffering, more lost generations, is simply unacceptable. But the road ahead is anything but certain. The region is littered with the wreckage of failed peace initiatives, and the scars of war run deep. Trust between Israelis and Palestinians is at an all-time low, and spoilers on both sides are ready to sabotage any progress at the first sign of weakness. The challenges are enormous. Rebuilding shattered communities, healing psychological wounds, and creating a sense of security and hope where there has been only fear and despair. It's a daunting task, and no one is pretending otherwise. But with ongoing violence and deep mistrust on all sides, will this plan actually change anything? The fighting hasn't stopped, and hardliners are already vowing to resist any compromise. The international community can offer support, but ultimately, it's up to the people on the ground to decide whether peace is possible. The coming weeks and months will be critical, as negotiators try to turn words into action, and skeptics look for signs of real change. The world will be watching every step, hoping for a breakthrough, but bracing for disappointment. So, deal or distraction? Is this the beginning of a new chapter, or just another round of political theater? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear. The world is watching, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The choices made now will echo for generations, shaping the future not just of Gaza and Israel, but of the entire region. Whether this plan becomes a turning point or just another footnote in a long and tragic history depends on the courage, vision, and determination of all those involved. Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more no-nonsense breakdowns. We want to hear your take. Do you think this peace plan is a real shot at ending the conflict, or just another political smokescreen? Stay tuned as we continue to follow this story and bring you the latest updates, analysis, and perspectives from all sides. Your voice matters, and together, we can keep the conversation going, because peace in the end is everyone's business.